Is it okay to want what you want? Obviously, it sounds like it is, but it's not as easy as it sounds. Welcome back to Finding Joy. I am so glad you are here. Here's something I've noticed in my own life and in my work I do with the clients almost every day. It's hard to give ourselves permission to want what we want. The moment we let ourselves want something, something else shows up almost immediately. The brain kicks in, and shame's right behind it. Our brain chimes in faster than we think. It slingshots rocks at us, and it says things like, you're going to disappoint people. You're going to let people down. Maybe you've decided to do something and now you've changed your mind, and you're going to appear unreliable. Who do you think you are? Shame's slimy little message. Let me ask you something today. Something simple, but something that's not easy. Is it okay to want what you want and to go after it? Of course it is, and you're nodding your head along, and you're thinking, yes, it is. But is it that easy? That last phrase of who do you think you are is the one that hits people hard. It's one of the message that shame drives. Shame is that feeling that washes over us when we feel like we're not enough or we feel like we're too much of anything, and its message is, who do you think you are? And it creates this intense fear that we are not worthy of love and belonging. And in this case, perhaps because we want something that's not appropriate to want. We want to take a break. We want to close down our computer at 5 o'clock when everybody else on the team is working till 9. We want a different career. We don't want to do what we've been doing. And this shame can hold us back from living the lives that we really want to create. And for women, that who do you think you are hits extra hard. Because as women, we are formed, molded to take care of everyone else before we take care of ourselves. So when we want something for ourselves, shame doesn't just show up. It arrives with a label already attached, and it says, you're selfish. And so even for myself, thinking of an example, I'm trying to think of something nice and heady, but I run an online community called The Joy Journey. And we have one that's purely online, and I share all the techniques and tips to help you live your best life. And I have a community part of that program that we run 2 Fridays a month. And lately what's been coming up for me is I want to take the summer off. I don't want to work Fridays. Now, choosing not to work Fridays already brings up, really? You're not going to work Fridays? And part of my brain goes, well, you could fit everything in the other days. So that feels like it's more of a permission slip that's easy for me to handle, or I'm getting used to it. But I love working in the community. I would call it love at lunch. I love the work we do. I love the connection we have there. It's an incredible group of women doing the work. And so it's been really a struggle for me to want to take the summer off. But I also know it's really important for me. And I want to live the life that lights me up, life that gives me joy. And so I'm giving myself permission to live a life that matters to me. And so I will be telling them that we will not be meeting over the summer. And yes, some people might be disappointed or some people might be relieved, but I get to create the life that I want. And I don't want shame to shut the door on the possibilities of what I want to create in my life. Because normally what happens with shame is we just shrink back. We choke back our truth, return to our regular programming. It's fine. I can handle it. Not a problem. We dust our hands off, crisis averted, and our nervous system sighs in relief because it likes the patterning of the behavior that helps us to feel like we're safe and feel like we belong and avoid shame. And I've done this before where I thought, oh, yeah, I would really like that. No, you can't do that. And I have backed away. I have stayed silent. I have tucked in my wants and desires. That eventually, if done perpetually, can cause a lot of issues when we're not authentic and genuine. And what we want to remember is that even though patterns of behavior feel like solid ground, they feel like it's safe. Over time, if we keep choosing that, we're actually choosing a straitjacket. And let me tell you, you do not have to have been in a straitjacket. I can thankfully report I have never been in one to know that there is not a lot of joy in a straitjacket, my friends. We can survive in it, but we cannot thrive in it. And so one of the things that I'm coming into this season with is this continual reminder is, what do I want? What's the life that I want to create that's filled with meaning? For some of you who are part of my newsletter or follow me on social media, you know that a dear friend of mine passed away recently. And I never want to come at my life thinking that life is short, but I do know that life is precious. And I want to live a life knowing that it's in line with who I am and what matters to me. And for me, I want a summer that's filled with a little bit more space and a little bit more freedom. And so I don't want to clip my wings this summer. I want to honor what I think is that inner wisdom and guidance system in me, something that brings me joy, knowing that if I have more space, more freedom, I can spend time writing my book, I can spend more time with my grandbabies, and that really matters. And that's no straitjacket. That's like wearing a nice sweater that I can connect to. And that's what I want for you too. More than just surviving, there's no joy there. I want you to know what it is to truly live your best life, whether it's in the small ways by taking some time off. And for you, that may not be the freedom to take Fridays off. I know that I am very privileged in that regard, but maybe there's a dream that you want and you have to set aside some other things in order to pursue that dream. And I want you to feel like you've got the space and permission to live the life you want, filled with what you want to create. And I don't want shame to have the last word. Talking about shame can help to loosen some of its power. So what's actually happening when shame shows up is you see something that you want. You know that that means something to you, but it's like what you want is on the other side of a smelly slough. I remember visiting my aunt's farm and I would see these sloughs and sometimes they were covered with like green slime. I think they're algae. It's probably actually good, but oftentimes they're smelly. There's debris rotting, gave off a pungent odor, and all of this is less than appealing. And so we shrink back because anything that we want requires courage to get there. And with courage always comes vulnerability, and vulnerability feels ick. It's what I tell my clients. It's uncertainty, it's risk, it's emotional exposure. And so our brain sends us a message to go, oh, back up from that. That feels terrible. And what compounds the intensity of vulnerability is that shame often comes to drive shotgun as you move towards courage. And so vulnerability feels gross and shame goes, you're not resourceful enough. You don't have enough money to take Fridays off. What are you thinking? And shame, we all have different shame triggers. And so if we can move past the messages that shame says we're not enough, we end up smacking into the dead cow in the slough that says, who do you think you are? And our brains hate that because that reminds us more than anything, we might not belong. We might not be lovable. We might not fit in somewhere. And we are hardwired to fit in. So we have to choose courage over comfort and wave through the ick of the vulnerability and the uncertainty, move past the slime of shame with its messages. One of the ways that we can do that is with permission. So what can I give myself permission for in order to do that? And then choose courage over the comfort of staying small, staying safe, staying in a place of certainty, to move on to the other side of that water, that slough, that uncertainty, to create the life that we want. Regardless of what you're doing right now, listening to this podcast, maybe working away, maybe out on a walk, maybe driving in a car, listen to what is the first thing that pops up when I ask you, what do you want? Not the responsible answer, not the pre-edited version, the real one, not the patterned one that keeps you safe, keeps you clipped, maybe even keeps you silent, but the one that brings you joy. And when I'm talking about joy, I'm not talking about this effervescent pixie dust and unicorns. You know that about me. It's the joy we get when we live in alignment with who we are and what matters. The relief you might feel and the bit of joy for saying no to something. The joy you might feel when you set a boundary and get more space or get more freedom or get more peace. That's what I'm talking about. And as you know, I use the cheesy acronym Just Own You when it comes to joy. There is nothing more important than you living an authentic and wholehearted life. That's what matters. There's a reason that you want what you want. And so if we give ourselves permission to just step into that, put your toe into the pond, one small step at a time, you might discover a life that's so much greater and so much more fulfilling than you can possibly imagine. Even for me, I think not only taking Fridays off, but one of my goals this year was to finish off my manuscript. And let me tell you, that is a stinky slough. I feel very vulnerable. There's lots of messages that says, I'm not a good enough writer. I'm not disciplined enough. Nobody's going to read my book. I got all the things, all the pungent smells floating around in my shame slough. Except what do I really want? I want to help people live authentically. And so in my upcoming book, I provide them with the skills, science, stories, and soul to help them come back to who they are, get clear on who they really are, have the confidence to be who they are, and the courage to bring that to the world wherever they are. Even though I want to shrink back, even though I don't necessarily want to do it, even though it requires that I set boundaries, it requires that I set aside time to make it happen, I'm doing it anyways. Because what I want is more wholehearted people in the world. What I want is more people experiencing life-changing joy by being themselves. So when you consider about what you want, notice your thoughts. They are data, but they're not danger like your brain tells you they are. Unless you're planning to jump out of a plane without a parachute, I am not suggesting that, but your brain might tell you that it feels that risky. Notice your thoughts and pay attention to them. Notice your feelings. Even if you can name them, it automatically tames them. It drops the intensity of that emotion by about 25%. And if it's a positive emotion, we're not actually supposed to call them positive or negative, but hopefully nobody will get mad at me here. Those emotions we love to be with, it allows us to savor them. And then what are your beliefs? Beliefs are butt kickers. Beliefs are those things that say, I'm not a writer. I can't do that. Or I don't have enough money. I better keep working on Fridays. I should probably work Saturdays too. We need to see shame for what it is. It's a pattern. It's trying to keep us safe. It wants us to belong. Thank you, shame. But it's okay. At the end of the day, I want to belong to myself and I want to create the best life possible where I am living and growing into my potential. And we have a choice. Our patterns are not in control. We are. Brene Brown talks about the distinction between shame and guilt, and that might be helpful for people to know here. Shame says I am bad. Guilt says I did something bad. Sometimes guilt can lead to shame, but shame is the one that can annihilate our dreams. Shame is the one that can hold us back. Shame is the straitjacket. And so whether you call it guilt or you call it shame, you are enough. You have enough. Give yourself permission to make the first step and live into a life that you want to create. This is what matters. Here's what I want to leave you with today. What is it that you want? If you picture that stinky pond, what is on the other side? And what's one small thing you will do to move towards it? I hope this has been helpful for you. And as we wrap up, may you give yourself permission and a big pat on the back for wanting what you want and pursuing it one brave step at a time. That's one step forward to creating more joy. And if this is connected for you today and you want more support toward creating a life that you want to live, I've created the Joy Journey, where I give you weekly support, 2 to 3 emails a week with the science and soul of creating a wholehearted, meaningful life. You can check it out in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked it, I'd appreciate a review. And if you'd subscribe, that would mean the world to me too. In the meantime, may joy find you.